Welcome all of you to my YouTube channel Animals and Pets with Partha. For a long time I've been always harping on certain things just to get the message across to dog lovers of this country. Actually, first of all, let me tell you, the city of Calcutta is where the Britishers first settled. The East India Company was formed, and after that, of course, the Britishers, it was the capital in India for the Britishers, and then for later on it was shifted to Delhi. But then a lot of heritage remains with us, a lot of legacy that the Britishers left behind. They left behind a great culture, British culture, which is evident from all the buildings around this city, where they are now, most of them are already heritage buildings, and you cannot really pull them down. And not only that, there are plenty of these sort of social clubs. In fact, even the swimming club and the Saturday club, the Calcutta club, the Bengal club, and so many clubs that were formed in the British era. And all of these clubs were then frequented by British lords and higher British officials, and only the royalties, the Indian royalties, people who were close to the British administration, they were allowed to be part of the club. The golf club and the swimming club and all this are testimony to the great British culture that they left behind. And of course, in Calcutta, you will find that most people, a lot of people, of course, no, I wouldn't say most, they learned their English from the British, and then it was passed on by generations. Another thing which was really apart from being, we also had the in dogs, of course, I have to talk about dogs or animals in particular, because that is my idea for this channel, Animals and Pets with Partha. And the greyhound races were there in Calcutta, and there was a greyhound race course, which was unique because the Britishers ruled here for several hundred years, and during that time, of course, all the Britishers that were here, because it was a rich country, and the Britishers who lived, they wanted to stay in India because they had everything. They had all the facilities which they did not enjoy in Britain, because they had all the servants and all the people that they required to look after them. So that was it was a land of plenty. And of course, they used to bring from UK by ship in those days hordes of horses, livestock, of course, you name it. Then you had this dogs and greyhounds for racing and everything. I come from a family which was in those days, in the British era, they were very established. My great-grandfather, late Dr. Manmothonath Chatterjee, who left behind a big property which has been converted into an eye hospital, which was his design in his last will and testament, that he left most of his property for charity. And then, of course, he had 18 children, my grandfather being the eldest. But then, what happened was, the British left this culture of dogs. And we had some of the greatest dogs around the world. In those days, of course, they would be coming from UK most of the time. All the great winning dogs of UK would reach Indian shores to compete in India. And of course, it's unfortunate that our records, we have not been able to maintain the records. But then, of course, the records were there. But somewhere down the line, purposefully, or maybe I would say very comprehensively, intentionally, those records have not been preserved. Of course, the Kennel Club, after the independence of India, and then the partition and all that, of course, it went through several changes of administration. But then finally it settled with a British, gentleman, Major Goldsmith, and then later on with Mrs. Goldsmith, who was the wife of Major Goldsmith, and she ran the Kennel Club until her death. And then the club actually had shifted to Kunur, a small, beautiful town in the Nilgiris. And then it was, of course, we had some great personalities in the dog world, which they guided the dog game in a very competent manner, and we achieved tremendous growth. And of course, it's the knowledge base that they shared with the youngsters, and we were able to breed some outstanding dogs. That means in those days we would import dogs only to improve our own stock. They were great breeders. They would import from Germany, they would from in America, they would import from UK and many other places. They would import those dogs that would actually improve the quality of the stocks that represented this country. This was our dog game. It was rich in knowledge, rich in heritage, rich in legacy. But then down the line, when we were achieving the exponential growth, which we just means our entries were just booming, and it was difficult for us to manage shows. In fact, in 1995, because I have been involved in the dog game from the early 70s, and so that makes it more than 50 years now that I've been actively involved in the dog world. And then what happened was in 1995, the entries of our dog game, our dog show in a national show in Delhi was more than 1,200, which of course today, but then what happened after that? There was a certain group of people, particularly one particular person whom we have referred to as the syndicate, and along with a group of other people who are mainly not doggy people, they are just cultivated and made into organizers and things like that, and they are the stooges of this syndicate. And these people got together and started looting the dog game. It was a very unfortunate happening in our kennel club, and before people realized, the club had gone to the hands of such corrupt individual who, along with all his obedient nincompoop stooges, started exploiting the dog game. Then of course down the line people had to go to court, and there was a lot of things were exposed, and then crores and crores of rupees have been siphoned out of this dog game, which is very unfortunate. Now the situation is so bad, and you will realize that there are no more breeders. Now it's totally that people are here. Of course, India is now empowered. There are hundreds of people, thousands of people, lakhs of people, millions of people who are enriched, who have the wealth, and they would do anything to any happiness that this wealth can buy, which is of course quite obvious. And what has happened is, they have started, because dogs, there's a lot of glamour in it and things like that. You get, all these foreign judges coming and everything. In this bargain, the syndicate, in connivance with an European company, they formed a team to rob this Indian dog king. Now, the European company has set India up as a great tourist destination for all their European judges, mainly European judges. Of course, the British clubs, the British judges very rarely come, very few nowadays. Australian judges, very few. So is New Zealand, because they're all sort of based on British system. But then the European community, which of course has a lot of these countries who people in these countries, dog breeding is sort of a livelihood, and they make cheap winners, cheap champions, which is a common practice in the European shows, because they get up on a bus and you travel to place, and you make a 5-country, 6-country champion and set it up for sale to Asian countries. Now that is the situation. So now we have just got to rely. Of course we will get rid of this. What has happened is people here has forgotten because they find that breeding dogs is no more I don't say monetarily beneficial, but breeding dogs for show is a waste of effort and time, because they're not going to win. The ones that are going to win have to be imported, and not only that, most of them are recommended by all these judges and whatever they're coming, and then they also send their handlers, and the handlers actually invite judges who are going to put up their dogs. So it's all a nexus, that's all going on. Well, it's a very sad story, and we are fighting it. I am sure that the future generation in the dog world should be concerned about getting rid of this system as quick as possible and set the dog game in a proper light, so that as soon as possible we should be on our stride. We should get rid of this European company out of this system, and we should follow our what we inherited, the British system, that we should follow the British rules, and which is of course much better than this system. This system only produces cheap winners, cheap champions, and they have ruined the entire Indian bred dogs that would at one time be comparable to the best in the world. Thank you and bye-bye, and shall be back with the next episode as soon as possible. Thank you, and shortly we shall get back to you.